Well, I've got a really fun project today. It's a Bluebird nesting box, and it's a slot nesting box. And it's called a slot box because the opening is a slot across the front instead of the traditional hole. And I've built 5 or 6 of these slot boxes and had really good success with all of them being placed at friends' houses and in different locations. And they've all produced nests, and they've all produced eggs and birds. And I kind of find them a little easier to build, and I especially think they would be a lot easier to build for the beginner builder, because everything is kind of square on them. There's not a lot of fancy cutting here. So here's the one that it's in my front yard that I have made out of pallet wood. These sides here are 4 inches wide, and everything is 4 inches wide on this one because of the dimensions of the pallet wood. Now I'm going to show you. I had a nice nesting in here this year, and there's the current nest still unused. I really probably could clean this box out, but just wanted to show you that they are a great box, and I've had excellent success with all of them cutting here. So I did a little project down at the school that's attached to my church, Little Flower Catholic School here in Mobile, and yesterday morning, and we had 10 kids with their parents came in yesterday, all from ages 4 to 8, and they all built a bird box. And I had made the kits for these bird boxes, and I have 4 kits left over, so I'm going to assemble them and finish them. And I thought, hey, what the heck, let's make a video and show y'all how to build one of these things. The ones that I have built previously have all been built out of pallet wood, okay? And I use that piece of pallet wood, that panel that's on the ends, it's always thicker, and I've always just taken my circular saw and just cut those pieces out when I'm disassembling a pallet, and I just will kind of stack those pieces up, and I'll use them for things. And they work great for these bird boxes because those pieces tend to be, 5 inches wide, if not wider. It gives me plenty of room to rip them down to the size that I want. The box that's in my front yard, everything was ripped down to 4 inches wide, and when it was assembled, and I did 4 inches wide because mostly that pallet wood is about 5/8 of an inch thick, and that kind of gave me the room I wanted inside the box for the birds. Now, the ones that I've assembled in these kits that I'm going to be assembling from you today, these are actually made out of oak. A parishioner has a sawmill down on Fowl River here in Mobile, and he gets logs and stuff that have washed up onto the banks of the Mobile Bay and the Fowl River and then mills them. And so he was nice enough to let me come down last weekend, and he milled 2 big logs for me to use for this project for church, so we didn't have to pay for the wood. So very pleased to have this oak. And the ones that I did for the school, I didn't sand. I left it up to them when they get home. It's another project that the parent and the child can do together. But I'm going to sand all 4 of these before I actually do the assembly, so I won't make you watch the sanding. But I wanted to share with you the dimensions of the box that I built. So here is the back of the box, and this is going to be the bottom. Now, I did the bottom on this kit a little differently than I did the ones that I built before. The ones I had built before, I had the bottom so that it kind of slid up in the external box. It slid up in there. But with these kids, that was going to be too difficult for them to do. So I just went ahead and made a bottom that the sides and everything are going to just sit on like this, okay? So that I pre-assembled this bottom before I took it to them. So the back of the box is 15 inches long. And again, everything is cut to 5 inches wide. So I ripped all the boards to 5 inches wide. Now, I think you can make these boxes at any width that you would want. So if you don't have the ability to rip wood or rip lumber, you can go to the store and buy yourself a
1x6, which would be 5.5 inches wide at 3/4 of an inch. You put the two sides on there, that's another 1.5 inches. So you're coming down to about 4 inches inside dimensions of that box, which I think is a really good size. I think you could probably use a cedar fence picket if you wanted to use cedar. But again, I use whatever's around. So 15 inches by 5 inches. The bottom here is 5 inches because every piece of wood that I have cut is to 5 inches width, and that 5 inches fits the dimension of all of my lumber, okay? The sides, again, are 5 inches, and this front part is 9.25 inches. And I know you're going, why would you do it at 9.25 inch? And you'll see when this is all done at the end, but this here is a 10-degree miter, okay? So, my neighbor honking at me. So I have a 10-degree miter here so that when the top sits on it, there's a little slope and water will run out. If you don't have the ability to do a 10-degree miter, I think you just cut it off at 90 degrees and just have a flat top. I don't think it's gonna matter one single bit. The other part I like about this miter is when this front hangs over a little bit, it gives that Bluebird a little more privacy going in the slot. Okay, so 9.25 inches here, okay, with a 10-degree miter. That's gonna give you a certain inches back here. I didn't care about that. Since I was holding the top, let's talk about the top. The top is 7 inches long, okay, and also cut with a 10-degree miter on both ends, okay? So when that sits on this piece and I've got it on there properly, this back will fit flush up against here, okay? And again, with that 7 inches, there is an overhang, so you will see that board is going to fit nicely up against that back right there, okay, giving a very nice look. And then the front of the box, I have cut to 8.75 inches. Now, when I have built these with the bottom sliding up inside, I made this front only 8 inches. But when I'm doing this piece with the bottom attached and actually almost gonna be exposed, I did 8.75 inches so that 3/4 inch would overlap down here and give me something to nail to, okay? And then the fact that this is 8 inches from here, so it's gonna go from 8 inches up here, and the front of this was 9.25 inches, that gives me a 1.25 inch opening. That's the reason for that 1/4 inch. It gives me a 1.25 inch opening, and that's the opening size that we need for the Bluebird. We need it to be like 1 1/8 to 1.25 inch so that predators can't get in there. So there are the dimensions of my wood. Again, everything cut to 5 inches wide, 15-inch back, 5-inch bottom, side 9.25 inches here with a 10-degree miter, okay? Top 7 inches with a 10-degree miter or bevel, I don't know what you even call it, so that it sits flush and we've got a slant, okay? And then the front 8.75 inches. All right, I'm gonna get busy sanding all of these 4 pieces, all this lumber, to get it down nice and smooth, and then I'll come back to you when I'm gonna assemble one. Now, one other thing that I am doing before I assemble this is I'm just taking a little hand saw and I am making some grooves on the inside of the front. And I'm gonna do one more here to kind of show you. And what this groove is this groove is so the baby birds have something for their feet to grab onto as they are trying to get out of the box. Okay, so all it is they're not deep, they're just a nice little groove. And you can see here something for those birds to grab onto. Okay, so I'm ready for assembly, and I'm gonna assemble these with nails, a hammer and nails, just so you can see that you can do this, that you don't have to have special tools. Normally I would be out here with my pneumatic nail gun, but since I already have all these holes pre-drilled for the nail holes, like I said, these were kits for kids, I'm just going to do it like we did. So I'm using 1 1/4 inch 3D finish nails. The 3D is the thickness. It had to be a little thin nail so these kids could drive it into this oak. Originally, I was going to use 6D 2-inch nails. And when I was putting these bottoms on, man, I was having to whack that thing. And I was like, there is no way these little kids are going to be able to drive these nails in. So after we did the assembly yesterday morning with the kids, it all looked pretty good. So that's what I'm going to use. And if I feel like I've got a side or something that needs a little more strength, I'll grab one of those longer nails. All right. So before we even get into this, let me show you one other thing. And it's about this wood that I'm using. Like I said, it came from a log that had been floating on the river. And I want you to look at this grain right here. Let me get so we can see. There we go. Look at this unique grain. That's called spalted wood, S-P-A-L-T-E-D. Look at that. And that's when wood has started to get a fungus in there, and it's almost basically starting to rot or decompose, but you've caught it before it actually has, and it gives that beautiful texture. So this box here is going to have a lot of spalting on it. I was kind of picking out the pieces that I wanted to use. All right, so let me start the assembly process. So what I'm going to do is the first piece I'm going to attach is going to be the right-hand side. So if you're looking at the front of the box, this is the right-hand side, okay? And on that side, I am going to drive 3 nails to see how secure it is with these smaller nails. And then if I feel like I need a bigger nail, I will use a bigger nail. So there's one in my pre-drilled hole. Very easy. I'm a guy that always does a little bit of overdo on my assembly. So I'm probably going to use a bigger nail here at some point in time, but that's going together pretty well. Okay, here's another hole. Very good. And let me get one of these bigger ones just to satisfy myself. Oops. That's what would have been happening with these kids. Awesome. Okay. That side went together really, really well. If there's a few little gaps in your construction, it's no big deal. All right. Now, I'm also going to put a couple of nails in the bottom here, holding the bottom to this side. And I am going to use a longer one out here on the front. I've got a little bit of warpage. That did great. That drove that right together. It's actually a nice fit. Okay, let me put one smaller nail on the bottom. Now, as soon as I put the front on this piece, it's going to tighten things up more. So that's what's coming next, the front. So on the front, remember, I now am going to attach the right side of the front and the bottom. That's all I'm going to attach. This left side, we are not attaching to the back or to the bottom or to the front, except for with some screws. That's going to be the side that will hinge, and we will actually be able to open the bird box and clean it, which is very important. So let me drive a few nails here. Okay. I'm going to drive a longer one in here on one of them. Very good. This is going together really easy. Okay, I'm going to put 2 short ones in the front and 1 long one in the front. So I'm just doing 1 long nail in every one of these. Okay, so there we have the side, we have the back, and we have the front. Awesome. Now, I'm going to put the top on next. And I want to get the top on before I get this last side on there, because I got to just make sure that that side fits properly. You know, actually I don't. I guess I could put this side in here and then put the top on. That might be actually a little bit easier. That's going to be a tight fit. Well, I just made a decision on the fly, and a lot of times in these projects like this, you got to be willing to make a decision on the fly. You know, as I was fitting this second side in here, it was very snug. And I don't need it snug because this is the side that's going to be lifting out. So I went out and I sanded the bottoms here. I'll bring it in closer. I sanded these bottom edges, that's where it was sticking, so that it fits in that side a whole lot better. And I think that was a really smart move. Now, excuse me, I am gonna attach that side before I attach the top. And I want to come up 7 inches on the front, and I'm gonna make a mark. And then I'm going to go straight across. I know this isn't scientific measuring, but that's close enough for a birdhouse. Straight across, and I want to make a little mark there because I'm going to drive 2 screws in to this piece, and that will act as the hinge. So let me get this piece in there. Let me get it up on its edge. Like that. There we go, like that. So I've got my drill here. There's my mark. And all I'm using is a little 1-inch exterior screw. Okay, and I'm going to drive that screw in. Okay, that side is held on there. And then I'm going to make sure that my side is lined up again. Take my drill on my mark, drill another hole. All right, get my screw and drive it in. Okay, so there is my box. Now, watch. That side now has a hinge and can open, so you can get in there and clean this box out when the birds are done with it. Now, in the other ones that I've built, where the bottom is up in there, you can just grab this side and pull it up. This isn't going to happen here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another screw, or you could drive a nail partway in to use it as a handle. So let me do that before I get going to put the top on. I don't know that that's, nope, that's not going to work. I need a regular old Phillips head here. There we go. Now, I now have a little handle that I can grab it and open the side with. It's a little dark there. There we go. A little handle to open the side. Perfect. Now, one other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take another screw and drive it in here in the front, because I want to use this one as a lock. Okay, and I'm going to use this same type of screw. Get my screwdriver, and I want to drive this one in so that it goes through the front into the side. There. Now, look at here. Now it's locked. So I will make this screw go in and out a bunch of times so it's glued. So you didn't want it to where you just undo it with your hand, open the side. That keeps that side from opening. All right, let's put the top on. And then we're done. Whew, it's hot. Okay, so top is going to sit like that. Actually, I want this spalted side out. Okay, now remember, I don't want to drive the top into the left-hand side, because that's where it's going to open. All right, so I'm going to use one of these longer nails to drive into the top to really make it secure from this side. Make sure that it's really up against everything is lined up. Very good. Actually, I'm going to drive another long one in. And now I pre-drilled some holes in the back here that I will drive in to the top there for a little more security. I think I'll just use the small nails there. There we go. Pardon my back. And when I put these in, I kind of put them in at a little bit of an angle. Nice. 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 And there you have it. There is a slot Bluebird box. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this. I'm going to get I've got some Danish oil. I'm going to put on there to really bring this grain out. And then I'll just use some Thompson's water seal on the side of it, on the outside of it and the inside. But I have a done box. So I will just be able to drill a hole through the top here, hole through the top there, attach it to a fence post like I've got out in the front. Box is ready to go. Well, there's the finished product. I have put a coat of Danish oil on it, and I'm going to get it up close. Look at how it brought the grain out in that spalted wood. Absolutely beautiful. So there's the box. And like I said, I just now need to mount it on the pole. Birds love it. They go in there. Well, listen, I hope y'all enjoyed this project. Drop me a comment below if you build one. I'd love to know how it went. I really enjoy Bluebirds. I think they're my favorite. And this is a simple project. You can do it. I know you can. So I just did it. You can do it. Thanks a lot, y'all. Have a great day. And hey, hit that subscribe button if you like this project too.